Alright lads, how's it going? I'm going to talk today about War Thunder, and how I think it can be improved. With the release of Enlisted last week, the newest Guardian developed game is quickly becoming a very successful release. Not only is it free to play, but its skill ceiling is also much lower than War Thunder's, as well as appealing to both history and first-person shooter fans, giving it a larger catchment size compared to the relatively niche playbase of War Thunder. Enlisted is also a lot of fun. To tell you the truth, I haven't played War Thunder in over a week now, as I no longer really feel drawn to the game. I can't say the same for Enlisted however. It's new, fresh and has fun, if not slightly repetitive gameplay, and I've been playing and streaming it fairly regularly. War Thunder on the other hand, has become a little bit of a mess, and as someone who's been playing this game since 2012, I've pretty much had a front row seat to witness it all. Now I'm not the best player or the most experienced, and the issues I'm going to mention are my own as a player, rather than a content creator. Starting with something that I feel very strongly about, and that is realistic battles. As I said in the introduction, I've been playing this game since 2012, and I can tell you right now that RB in 2012 was pretty much the same as it is now, apart from the missiles. You spawned in, climbed, and then met in the middle and had a fight. Now you could say that this has remained unchanged because it's a working formula, but I don't think there are many players who are satisfied with RB at the minute. For me, it's the fact that they've kind of just given up on it. Apart from the mini bases and the longer runways which were added recently, there has been very little change to the core mechanics to RB, even as they've added the newer generations of supersonic jets. They haven't properly expanded the game mode to suit these new jets. The maps are currently way too small for supersonics, the spotting system is beyond a broke, and the balancing is a total joke. This brings me on to my next issue, and you already know what this is, and that is batter rating compression. While it's bad in jets, and worse in tanks, it's downright horrific in naval battles. For example, HMS Dreadnought, the very first ship of her type, is at the same batter rating of 6.0 as the Japanese Hyuga, a super dreadnought built at the end of the First World War. Heavy cruisers and naval forces also mainly occupy the batter rating of 5.7. These cruisers stand no chance of killing a dreadnought, despite only being 0.3 batter ratings below them. This is the equivalent of an M22 Locust being moved up to 7.3 to fight the Mouse, or the ME-262 being moved up to 10.3 to fight the Phantom. Although not too many people play naval, it demonstrates the batter rating compression in War Thunder the best, and all players of all nations and game modes should be making more noise about this issue, as it permeates through all of the game modes. Now, I'm pretty guilty of staying quiet on the issues in War Thunder. I'm rather apathetic at the moment to tell you the truth. As I said, I've been playing less and less, and I don't really feel excited to come home and play War Thunder anymore. Another reason for me feeling this way is that I feel like Guardian isn't too concerned about the health of their game. This again is linked to batter rating compression, but it is more to do with the additions in recent years. They just keep on adding more modern vehicles, without the proper maps, mechanics or balancing. It's like building a house without the foundations. Sure, you can add stuff to the top, but underneath it's unstable, and this is generally how I feel about the game. It's like they've shifted focus from satisfying World War II buffs and started trying to appeal more to children, adding flashier and fancy new models regardless of the balancing. And by the time most people get angry about said balance, there's a new update with even more modern and even more flashy vehicles, and people seem to forget about all the negatives of the game. I understand that there are over 1,000 vehicles in War Thunder now, and it is very hard to balance them all properly. I'm pretty sure Guardian have mentioned this themselves before, but if you already know that you have too many vehicles in the game, why continue to add more? Surely, pushing an update back and having an Ubisoft update health style patch focused mainly on rebalancing and bug fixes would be the best way to improve the game, as well as giving Guardian some much needed good PR. All of this might sound like rambling, and that's on me, but it feels like War Thunder is dying, and without the constant updates of new vehicles, people simply wouldn't be playing this game. I feel like Guardian knows this, and are kind of accelerating the introduction of more modern vehicles, just to try to retain a player base. But enough about the game in general, let's get specific. I've already spoke a bit about RB, and I no longer really play it, so I can't add too much to the discussion here. Apart from adding maybe AM-9Bs and the Soviet equivalent to top tier jets when stock, 10.7 jets are painful enough to fly, at least give the poor soul some missiles. If you've been watching my channel for a while, you know that I mainly review tanks, and it is generally my most played game mode, so I do have a few ideas on how to improve it. Firstly, completely prevent helicopters from spawning at the start of a match. Preferably, have a 5-minute ban on all close air support or helicopters in a game. This is a way to satiate both sides. For people who want a tank only game mode, it gives them 5 good minutes to do work in their first spawns, and it will ensure that every game has a decent tank on tank engagement period. and due to casts not being completely banned, it still leaves them viable late game. It will also prevent half of your team spawning in spags at the start of a match, which usually leads to a quick defeat. My second suggestion would be to heavily reduce, or to give the player base the ability to ban night battles. I don't enjoy it, Twitch viewers don't enjoy it, and I feel like most other players simply don't like it. When you spawn into a night match, there are always players who simply just quit at the start. I usually don't do this, but I can honestly say that I don't enjoy the night battles, especially on vehicles which don't have thermal imaging, which again goes back to the horrendous balancing issues found at top tier. I'd also increase the map size of realistic battle matches. Gaijin could simply add the sim battle maps to the regular rotation. Playing main battle tanks on tiny maps is boring, unrealistic, and turns the game into a Twitch shooter. I am biased here, I do like playing sim, and I do prefer the larger maps. Some players do actually like the smaller maps, and that's absolutely fine, but I feel like just with the 10.7 jets, top tier tanks should be fighting on larger maps. And that brings me on to sim battles, where again, my first pointer is about the helicopters. Unlike realistic battles where helicopters can't spawn with vertiground missiles at the start of a match, helicopters in sim can be brought out with full payloads at the start of a game. And seeing as the Russian camos have spammed out more than the Apaches, it usually leads to half of the NATO team spawning in spags, which just like in realistic, leads to a Soviet steamroll. I'd fix this the same way as I'd fix realistic. Simply add a 5-minute no-cast spawn system. The system would apply to both 10.7 sim and 9.3 sim tiers. Another issue with sim is the balancing, particularly the 9.3 sim bracket. The British, American and Soviets are a little lacking in this tier, and could be fixed by adding the Chieftain Mark 10, M1 Abrams and T-72A to the lineup of each nation respectively. This is a minor issue granted, but the sim lineups of all 8 brackets are long overdue. Another major issue for me in sim is the duplicate vehicles. Vehicles such as the Italian Hellcat and Pershing, German Sherman and the Soviet Panther are all allowed to play in sim matches. This just leads to abuse, especially the Italian Hellcat, which is solely different due to a small Italian flag on the rear of the tank. Something which can't be reliably seen at longer ranges. Simple solution, remove these tanks from the rotation. I don't really care if people can't abuse these tanks, it's killing simulator battles. I briefly mentioned naval earlier, and the absolutely abhorrent lack of balancing in that game mode. Granted, I'm not the most experienced player in naval, but I feel I can add a few more suggestions. The main issue at the minute for me is that on top of the battle rating compression, dreadnoughts and heavy cruisers have the same spawn points, which usually leads to the dreadnoughts on either team feasting on the weaker cruisers at the start of a match. A simple solution to this, without straight up increasing the battle ratings, would be to add a separate dreadnought spawn, far away from the cruiser spawn. This would give battle rating 5.7 cruisers a few minutes at the start of a game, where they would be outside of the practical combat ranges of the larger battleships. I'd also move one of the cap circles much further out to sea, essentially making a destroyer cap circle close to the shore, a cruiser cap circle with a few islands of cover, and then finally the dreadnought cap circle in the open ocean for battleship duels. This is the only way I can think to solve the issues in naval, all whilst retaining the current battle rating system. This of course isn't perfect, as the current battle rating system is especially painful for destroyer players, as in a full down tier they are kings of the ocean, and in full up tiers they may as well just J out. As I said, I'm not really qualified to talk about naval, so let me know if you have any other ways to improve the game mode. Another problem in naval that I come across regularly is the spotting system. You are currently able to sit behind cover and shoot at enemies who are spotted by friendlies. This leads to people camping behind islands, basically immune to return fire. While this could happen in real life, such as HMS Canopus at the Battle of the Falklands, in game it is just super annoying, and when combined with the imbalance, makes the matches nearly unplayable. For example, a super dreadnought which is already immune to most non-capital ship weaponry, can sit behind an island and become immune to pretty much all weaponry. Again, a broken mechanic which has been present for years and has never been fixed. To end this video, I want to say that I will still be playing this game, but I wouldn't say I love the game too much anymore. War Thunder still has a good potential, but the constant addition of new shiny stuff, without the foundation to support said vehicles, is really creating discontent within myself. I am of course only speaking for myself, you guys may disagree with everything I've said in this video, that is completely fine. Do you guys feel like I've missed something or got something wrong? Then please let me know. But anyway lads, thank you for listening to me rant, thank you very much for watching, and I hope you have a very nice day.